Come on down to Morrow's Soup Store. Welcome to Tales Tomorrow. I'm Morrow, your storyteller for today. With me I have some more RPG horror stories. Speaking of RPG horror stories, I really want to try to make this year the year I actually collab. So I'm gonna do the one thing that an introvert like me usually doesn't do: talk to people. Like, yeah, I could invite Mary and Micah to do some more stories and stuff, but I feel like I need to broaden out my horizon, as scary as that will be. I mean, I'm not too much of an introvert, but you know, I still feel like I feel a little peppy shy when it comes to talking to people, because like, I'm just a dumb tiefling on the internet. Who would want to do stuff with me? But anyway, let's get some RPG horror stories for today. Anyone ever dealt with a fairly dull, boring game? I love my DM and I appreciate the years of stories he told us, but he has a tendency to suck the adventure out of the game due to his love for realism and disdain for tropes. It's never anything really bad like some of the stories I read in RPG horror stories, but it does feel like we're constantly cheated out of daring adventure sequences that are classic to D&D. He has a big adherence to a specific math, rules, and numbers. If we ask to do something we obviously can do, we absolutely have to describe when and how we do the action as accurately as possible. Can a cast feather fall before we hit the ground? Is not acceptable. We have to describe exactly how close to the ground we attempt to cast it and calculate the exact timing. After finishing a dungeon, we have to manually walk out, one room at a time. No time skips or flash forwards. Everything has to be precise. Because of this, pacing is always a big problem in our games. Yeah, you guys have pacing of a snail. Actually, worse than a snail. You have pacing of a dead snail. A dead snail is even faster than your pacing. This is unreasonable. This is honestly unreasonable. Do you really need to describe to the DM? Okay, I'll walk out of room 1B, 1C, 1D, 1E, 1F, make a left, exit out of that room, go down the stairs into room 2A, 3A, 4A, 5A, then make a right. Do you need to describe that? Just say, hey DM, we leave the dungeon. There you go. So much time is saved. So much sanity is saved. If the wording in a spell or ability has even a hint of vagueness, we always have to check 3 sources to make sure that what we want to do is legal. One player used a level 9 spell to create a gravity orb that pulls enemies and loose objects towards it. We had to spend 15 minutes researching if it affects loose objects through the walls. In reality, it would have been best with the DM to just make a call, move the game along. Loose objects were not even important either. Don't spend 15 minutes looking up stuff. Just be like, okay, making a call, moving things forward. One of the worst things that can happen, listen, D&D is kind of slow, especially when it comes to combat, which is why it's always better, so much better, to find ways to speed things up and keep things moving forward. Roleplay situations where players want to interact with each other, let them simmer, let them go slow. Combat, speed it up a little bit. Weird rulings, make a call there and change it later on if anything. Like, D&D combat can be pretty slow, and he really doesn't seem to like classic tropes. One time we did a sneaky heist mission, but someone failed to roll and a guard sounded the alarm. Now in classic action movie fashion, this would trigger a chase sequence where the party had to hastily escape from the heist before the security or guards all bear down in opposition as we run for our lives. But because that sort of thing only happens in movies, we instead usually just walk out of the enemy base. No opposition, no chase sequence, just some magical security doors that close on us that we can simply be opened with a single Arcana check. He did a good job at avoiding a tired trope, but instead it left us with a scenario filled with zero excitement. Almost no puzzles. They're too gamey. What idiot would create a locked door that can only be opened via a riddle, right? Entirely unrealistic. So most dungeons tend to be straight hallways, and the occasional monsters in an empty room. But in my opinion, this is a game, and gaming stuff like riddles and puzzles are kind of the fun part of the genre. I'm starting to think maybe your DM is allergic to fun, or they don't know what fun is, or to them fun is walk in a straight room, enter a room, big hallway, big room with nothing there except a monster, fight the monster, move forward. Oh, excitement. So much excitement it could give me a heart attack. My poor heart. Oh. Building up villains for months or years without a satisfying final confrontation. Sometimes we meet a bad guy and this build up for months and years, and it feels like it's all culminating towards a final epic showdown. But because my DM tends to dislike predictable tropes, that final encounters never happen. We spend 3 to 5 sessions climbing the evil wizard's tower. When we finally reach the wizard, we just end up standing in a room with him, talk to him for no rolls for 30 minutes, and then he surrenders or teleports away, not even summoning a powerful minion to provide as a distraction for his getaway. And in my opinion, ending a years-long story like that without a satisfying release of all the tension that has built up, it just feels like a huge anticlimax. In cases where the bad guy escapes and leaves us, we have been told we could could have stopped him if he had a specific 9th level spell, even though a whole party of marshals and half-casters, making me feel like he is not even designing the plot around their capabilities. Not to mention we all have cool level 20 abilities we would like to try out, but we never do, because the biggest threats in the game that could challenge us just want to surrender without a fight. Seriously, your team is allergic to fun. They don't know what fun is. You need to take them to a movie and show them a fun anime and fun movie and say, look at this DM, look, tropes, and it's fun. It's fun to have tropes. The whole point of playing TTRPGs and stuff and have this tropey stuff is because it's fun. An evil BBEG bad guy that eventually becomes like a big villain, you have a big payoff and a boss battle is fun. It's tropey. But tropey can always be fun. Tropes can have a good experience. And yes, I get the cliches and stuff, but they're cliches because they work and they're good. Maybe if you want to have some sort of a twist to things, you could throw stuff in, but as long as it's fun. Having a boss fight just end off like, we just have a 30-minute conversation and say, all right, I'm just gonna give up then. Screw it. I'm not gonna do it. What? You just taking away the boss fight from the players? Just like that? All this comes from a well-meaning place to want to make sure the game is as original as possible. But in the end, every session feels like it's crescendoing towards a hugely memorable session, only to peter out with a huge loss of momentum. I've stuck around for long because the players sometimes are able to create scenarios that are a lot more exciting than the DM scenarios, leading to exciting, memorable sessions here and there. But recently, the players who are usually in charge of steering the session towards excitement have left our game, and now there's not much joy left. I think maybe the DM would prefer a different system that's focused more about narrative and less around gamey stuff. So I think I'm going to take the old advice of no D&D is better than bad D&D and call it quits after my final game. Can anyone else relate to having a boring game? I thought I've had boring games before in the past, but compared to this, no. It was a cakewalk. It was actually exciting stuff with something going on. I'm sorry. I think you're just stuck in a bad game. Though, I wish you good luck with finding a different game with a more exciting DM, with the gamey stuff and tropey stuff and actual semblance of fun. For real. Like, maybe you could try to talk to the DM if you really want to, but if they just want to run the stuff to try to not follow the tropes and make it gamey, I don't think this game is gonna work out. Maybe they need something more narrative, like I said, a more narrative system than anything else. I wish you good luck though. Let's get to the next story for today. The day I killed another D&D player character and I don't regret it. The party is my experienced group of 4 players. Myself, a half-drow shadow sorcerer named Mortimer, a warlock Goliath called Thrawn. Thrawn? I think Thrawn. A ball spawn ASMR rogue called Hal, and a human bard named Abel. The build-up. So this was our second campaign and we had switched DMs, so this was our first time playing alongside Abel's player as he was the prior DM. This campaign was Curse of Strahd and was immediately set up to be a dangerous and unforgiving land where everything was against us. We were thrown to Death House in session like 2. We had dealt with the rude NPCs and had been faced with threats at every turn. Another thing worth mentioning is Abel's player didn't actually start as Abel. He started as a robot called Tallboy, but upon us being called upon to have a meal with Strahd von Zarovich, Tallboy was killed. My character had his neck snapped by Strahd, and the way Tallboy died is Strahd used Hal's kill word, think like a Winter Soldier situation, and forced Thrawn to choose which Strahd would revive, myself or Tallboy. I was chosen, which was a mutual agreement at the table. Meeting Abel. As I'm sure you can imagine, have lost a member and nearly lost another member of the team was quite tense. My character also ended up dying to a trap after all this, but thanks to being a shadow sorcerer, I returned to life. We came across Abel in a tavern after some talk and he joined the crew. Sort of jumping over the details here, but Abel was difficult. This character seemed to enjoy making conflicts and in 2 separate combat encounters, hid and even somehow healed an enemy by accident in one. He seemed wholly incompetent and useless in combat, and he didn't make up for it by being endearing or interesting outside of fights. The only explanation I can think of what Abel is doing is probably working against you guys and for the BBEG, which is why they accidentally healed a bad guy and constantly hit from the fights and didn't exactly participate in the fights. Otherwise, I don't know why they would do that. Maybe they're too much of a pacifist or something, I don't know. The reveal. After much ambiguous things said out in the session about Abel and his power and true intents, eventually at the end of the session, Abel pulls Hal aside in character and reveals so far he has been lying in almost every way. He isn't incompetent, he's actually extremely intelligent, he's the son of a devil, he has a strong desire to impress, was originally hired by Strahd to spy on us and put us in danger, but he has come to like Mortimer and Thrawn like pets. He says every bit of drama has caused all was intentional. He asks Hal to keep this between them for now, as he feels they wouldn't react well, and he's sure she understands as she is a ball spawn. She hates her father. So my guess was correct. Is working for the bad guy, is a bad guy, is for the enemy faction, but apparently thinks of them as being too smart. I am 2 steps ahead. Those fools, they think I'm just being an idiot. Ha ha ha. I'm in fact extremely genius. It's kind of, I mean, a cliche character, but also a crappy character to do. The fact that you think you're better than somebody, but like, it's a character that thinks they're better than somebody, but they act extremely dumb to try to trick somebody. It's almost like a double entendre, honestly. It doesn't make sense to me, and it's just, no, you're not being smart about it. You're acting stupid, I think, because you are stupid. Instead of working with a party, you're working with the BBEG. Is DM cool with it? Is that something they did? Maybe that's something they did. Maybe it's a revenge. You know what it is? I think I know what it is. It's a revenge for having Tallboy killed. Because the party didn't resurrect Tallboy, now it's gonna be a revenge story to make sure they screw over the party. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe it's personal. Who knows, honestly, at this point. I don't know. For whatever reason, DM approved this storyline, so let's see how it ends. And listen, I'm not saying that you can't have a party member that works with a BBEG, but turns out to actually change sides later on. You could totally have that work. However, the way that this player is going about it is, in my opinion, kind of a jerk thing to do. I mean, like, if you make a character that goes against the party, you still should try to work well with the party, not be a complete hindrance, right? At least that's what I think, honestly. Maybe I'm stupid, maybe I'm dumb. I mean, I'm a dumb tiefling on the internet, so I am really dumb. If you think something different, let me know. But let's continue with this story. Hal tells us, and we all talk and realize we need to confront Abel next session, and we devise a plan to give him a singular chance to explain himself further and to give him one final day to prove himself useful to us, and if he fails, we abandon him, or worse, if he put us in danger once more, we're forced to fight him. The confrontation. Next session arrives. Abel's player, we are aware of what he told Hal, and that Hal has told our characters. We'll let the DM know in private our plan, that we'd like to avoid it going bad, but there's a chance we might have to fight him. DM understands, or we go to the session. Also, I still don't have explanation. Does the DM know about this? I mean, DM must know about this, right? So they're basically allowing PvP and player going against the party and stuff, and now party going against the player. They're allowing this sort of confrontation. I said before, now I keep saying again, D&D is not a PvP game. And stories like this, I feel like this is going to turn sour. I think this is going to turn sour, and maybe the bard player is just genuinely unhappy they didn't resurrect Tallboy. It's like a revenge against the other players because they took it personally. Or maybe it's some sort of big grand storyline that the character or the player just really likes or something. I don't know. Either way, I'm gonna stop yapping. Let's see the result of this encounter. Mortimer leads the conversation. He asks Abel to confirm if everything he heard was true. He says it is. Mortimer tells Abel that he has one day to prove himself useful to us and trustworthy, that this isn't a joke and this is a dangerous land and we don't want to bring more risks along with us. Abel decides to reply, "Wow, I'm surprised it was the twink who had the balls to say all this to me." At this point, Mortimer, who was already unstable in ways due to dying twice in his journey, and was so thoroughly done with Barovia and wanted to ensure his own safety, and Hal and Thrawn's decide to attack Abel. Hal and Thrawn join and Abel is killed. And that's that. There's a lot of stuff that happened outside of the table after this, like the reveal that Abel had made contingency plans to kill Mortimer's disabled mother, to force Hal to kill the brother she wished to rescue, and to make a deal with Thrawn's patron, a genie that lived inside him, to help him kill the others. There's a lot of details I skipped over, but that's the general gist of it. Hope it was a good read, lol. It was a decent read, but I'm kind of concerned. What was the point for this? What was the reason why Abel wanted to do this? Was this his revenge for having Tallboy get killed, so they want to spite the party? Why was Abel plotting against the party to screw the party over, including the characters in their backstories, or try to get people killed specifically? What was the motivation? What was the reason behind it? Was it just out of spite? Was it just to spite other players? Was Abel just, this was their fun to screw over the party? Did they want to screw the party? Was it some purpose to screw the party over? Is this as revenge for Tallboy, or just because Abel is just a dickhead? Seriously, I mean, yeah, I understand why you'd want to confront the player and stuff and play a character, because honestly, if they're plotting against the party, yeah, probably some sort of explanation needs to happen from there. It's unfortunate that it ain't turned into PvP and everything, because you don't solve problems with PvP, honestly. So narratively, you can have some PvP, but as long as everybody's agreed with this and cool with it. But I'm still not understanding why even do this in the first place. Why plot against the party? You're supposed to work with the party, and while you can have have characters that work with the BBEG against the party in some capacity, they still work well with the party and they don't ruin the fun for other players. This feels like it was malicious, in my opinion. You watching the video, let me know in comments below what you think about this. What am I missing here? What am I missing? I genuinely feel like maybe Abel, you're just a dickhead. They're probably like, oh, my player character got killed, Tall Boy got killed, it wasn't resurrected. I'm gonna make a character to scroll over the entire party and find contingency plans to kill all of them just to spite them. I think this is done out of spite. I don't see any other reason other than spite. The fact that DM even helped facilitate this in general is just wild to me. It's just crazy to me. DM is like, oh, you want to spite other players and ruin the fun as well and just ruin the entire party dynamic? Yeah, sure, go for it. I'm cool with that. Seriously, what is the DM doing this? Why is the DM allowing this sort of thing? Why is the DM approving this character, and why is Abel going after the party in spite? Has to be spite. There has to be some sort of spite. I just don't see the genius behind it. Maybe I don't see something. Let me know in the comments below. And with that, that's gonna be all our stories for today. I want to thank you very much for watching, and thanks so much for being here. If you like what I do, consider subscribing to the channel and leaving a like. Also, if the RPG Horror Stories ever goes down, or if you want to submit your own personalized horror story, email is down in the description below. I'll see you again in more Tales tomorrow. Bye-bye.